everybody, it's Drybear. And we just got Grounded 2 in early access earlier last week, and it has been an awesome time diving in. If you enjoy survival games in general, then I definitely recommend picking up Grounded 1 for sure, and maybe checking out Grounded 2 as well. Keep in mind that this is a early access, and there are, apologies for the pun, a good bit of bugs in it as well. So you're gonna run into situations. I've run into seam lines, I've fallen through the floor, I've had my items disappear through the floor, I've had, 20% of the monsters I fight stuck inside of something. So there's definitely, it is early access, but it's got a lot of really cool new things that go along with it that you're gonna wanna know about it. So what I wanted to do with this video is to create a beginner's guide for people that may want to jump into Grounded 2. And personally for me, one of the favorite parts that I have about survival games in general is the exploration aspect. It's the, getting dropped into a brand new world, running your head against a brick wall over and over until you get it. It's one of the reasons why I like Green Hell, is you land in and everything is killing you and you don't know why. There's a lot of learning that goes along with it. So I'm gonna split this beginner's guide for Grounded 2 into two parts. The first part will be more of a broad lay of the land perspective, not trying to spoil anything for you, but just give you an idea of what the mechanics are, what to look out for, and to give you a heading on where you should go, but not give you anything more specific than that. Then, following that, for the second part of the video, I'm just going to give you whatever tips and tricks I have for the game, and some things that are a little bit more spoilery, but might be super helpful if you're getting started. So what you should know is that you're going to start out and you're going to be able to create a world just like really any major survival game these days. You'll create a world and you'll be able to play in that world and do saves. And the way they handle saves is quite good. It saves every time you close the game or log out or go back to main menu. It automatically creates a save, and the autosave system is pretty good as well. So for you to want to play, all you got to do is go to single player or multiplayer. If you want to play with other people, queue at them. They also have cross-play enabled as well between console and PC. Just hit this and you can hit new game, and then you can select that. It will go through a bit of a selection process. Keep in mind that the WoW difficulty in Grounded has always been very tough for many reasons. One is the requirement for survival, like water and food, as well as trying to maintain the durability on your gear is quite difficult, but also there's a lot more bugs, they're more aggressive, they have a lot more HP, they deal more damage. In general, it becomes very difficult. So unless you've played Grounded 1 on WoW, or you've played Grounded 2 on WoW, or you've beaten it on medium, then I'd recommend playing on medium or mild, just because WoW can be a bit of a shock for some people. You can choose between first person, third person. This is entirely cosmetic choice because there's a hotkey to swap them in game. There's even a button on the menu in game. So this choice doesn't matter. It's just what you want to start with. It really depends on what your perspective is, but in general, you can press U as in Uranus on your keyboard to be able to swap between them. And I'm sure there's a hotkey for Xbox as well to be able to switch. So this is, choose whatever you think looks good. Then you can choose a character, and the only choice you're making here is the dialogue you'll hear, because your character speaks and actually vocalizes a lot of the time on what they're thinking, what they're eating, what's happening, and also when they talk to any of the NPCs or you have the story dialogue, that's it. But in general, they all have the same hitbox as far as I can tell. They all have the same effects. They have the same access to everything in the game. It's just a cosmetic choice that will change your audio. So maybe listen to their voice lines and see which one you like most. And you'll spawn into the tutorial. The tutorial is pretty light. It's not super required. It really just sets up the setting for the world and the aspect that you're in, and just, talking to some of the NPCs, and that's it. So just go through the tutorial, gotta jump over some things, attack some things, craft some things, and be able to crouch through things using left alt. And then you'll be spit out into the city park. So this is like the whole map for early access right now. And if you bring your map up, there's actually a bigger area outside of this that you can't reach in early access. The map itself is absolutely massive. And you think about like each one of those each one of those blades of grass is the size of like a 2 or 3 story building. So it really gives you a sense of scale of how much you have to explore while you're out there. So once you get out of the tutorial, it's just gonna spit you out into the open world of Grounded 2. So let's start with, in this portion that is spoiler free, let's just look at some of the icons, denotations, and things you're gonna wanna know about and understand what they mean, because they will be popping up constantly as you're exploring. First up is this icon down here. This is your range indicator. It'll be colored based on which character you choose, but it's a range indicator to a ranger station. The ranger stations are your outposts all throughout the world. They will show up on your map permanently once you locate their location, but they have 2 or 3 primary resources and purposes that you'll be using constantly throughout your encounters. The first is to be able to research new recipes. So when you get a new item or resource or item that fits into a bigger recipe that you've never seen before, it'll have an exclamation point on it, letting you know that you can extract recipes from scanning that item, which will look like this. So if you ever get an item that you haven't scanned yet, it will have this little exclamation point right next to the item, and the color of it will be relative to the tier that you get from it. So higher quality materials will have a different color on it, but they will all have this exclamation point. Then if you jump over here, you'll notice in the bottom right corner, if I'm selecting an item that isn't analyzed yet, it'll have this unanalyzed symbol on it. So as you're going through the world, make sure you pay attention to items you pick up that have this marker, because you will need to go to a ranger station in order to have it scanned to get the information and recipes from it. Which brings us back to this icon here, which is your range indicator. So as you get closer to a ranger station, it will light up with more and more lights. You see, as I walk away, it goes down to 1 bar. When I go closer, it goes to 2, and then 3, and then eventually the middle will start glowing, letting you know you're right on top of it. So use it kind of like a radar, where you're getting closer and closer, discovering a ranger station. Inside of any ranger station is a resource analyzer. This is where you will go and you will actually scan these items that haven't been analyzed yet. You hit the analyze button, and then when you do, you will get XP towards your next level, like your overall progression, and it'll also unlock recipes related to that material. So as you scan more and more, you'll get more and more recipes, but also on top of that, you will get brain power, which is your character's account progression. As you get more and more brain power, you will eventually unlock new level things that are related to level, not the items themselves. So it's kind of like your account progression, your character progression of unlocking new resources. And you can see they go up higher and higher in value, get some really cool stuff, but you have to scan more things to get brain power, which will allow you to level up. However, there's another resource you see in the middle, top middle of my screen, raw science. If I open my inventory, you can see how much raw science I have here on the top left. This is your currency, and you use this as a resource to buy more recipes as well. You get raw science out in the field, walking around. You'll see it floating in random spots. You'll get it for defeating unique enemies, mini bosses, and bosses. You'll get it for doing quests and finishing achievements. And you'll also get it by scanning items at the analyzer to see what it's made of. And if you're wondering, this is what raw science looks like when it's out in the world. So you'll notice that, like, in this area, you can already see, like, there's one up over there and there's one right here. It's just a collectible. All you have to do is walk through it, boom, it'll give you raw science, and you'll be using this for upgrading your tools and also progressing your character towards endgame and unlocking new recipes as well. So as you're out in the world exploring, collect new resources, find new recipes, and gather these raw science nodes. Next is all your story quests. It will be, again, colored for the character that you're on, depending on what you're looking for. If you're Pete, it's blue. If you're Hoops, it's pink. But it looks like this with a star here. And then all you have to do is follow those icons out in the world to finish the quest. There is a main story quest. There are some things that are locked behind the main story, certain things that you'll unlock by doing it. So if you're stuck, you don't know where to go or what to do, just look at the top left corner for your story, or you can open your journal and you can go find these and then follow these icons in the world to do your MSQ. And if you're curious, it's one of the menus that you can bring up. So if you bring up your inventory or your menu for your character, this one over here on the left side for quests. So under my big fat head, if you look at this, boom, we've got quests. This is where all your quests are going to be, and it'll tell you what to do and where to go. You can pin it or unpin it if you like, but they'll all be listed here, depending on your... I'm on a fresh character, so you don't see the later quests that I have on my other character. And you can bring up the map on the same wheel as well, and you see how absolutely massive this map actually is. So I'm guessing this is the map that they have intended for the full release of the game, not early access. So very large. This is the map that we have for early access, and it's huge, actually. Like, you'll be kind of crawling around on this, but there's actually a good amount of places to look at. And just the size of this looks like it's going to be much bigger than the map of Grounded 1, which already felt big enough by itself, but bigger is always, in this case, better, more things to explore, as long as they're all really good in general. However, if you want to, especially useful in multiplayer, you can set waypoints here as well. You can hit this to drop a waypoint on the ground, and then if you look out in the world, you'll see it out in the world as well, marked on the map, and your teammates should be able to see these as well. Now, they did intend for you to be able to filter by resource here, so you can actually, like, put filters up and hide them and look for different things, and it's based on what you've unlocked in the game. This system hasn't worked great for me so far, but maybe, you know, as they put more patches out, it'll function, or maybe I'm just dense and missing it. But in general, I have stopped using this just because it doesn't seem to be fully implemented yet. And just a minor note, the first quest that you get when you come out of the tutorial, you'll want to do it immediately because it takes you to this spot here and will allow you to get your Omni-Tool, which is your ability to use and harvest things throughout the entire game. You literally can't play the game without grabbing this first. So if you went out like I did and just started exploring but couldn't harvest anything, just make sure you come here to this anthill just next to, like, the tutorial spits you out right there. Come over to this, enter inside, and grab your Omni-Tool, because this is how you will be gathering materials, and you literally can't gather half the materials in the game until you have this tool. The other purpose of ranger stations are these here, actually called ranger stations, like the main console of the ranger station itself. You will be able to use the scanner over there to be able to actually get it open, but you will need to use the ranger stations to unlock recipes. So scanner for items, and then they will also have this here. This is where you will buy upgrades for your character. Now, there's also going to be ranger challenges on the right here. These are objectives, achievements you have to complete. Doing each one of them will give you a certain amount of raw science, your currency that you spend in game. So that's useful. And then you go to the science shop as well. This is very limited. In the first game, this was way more in depth, but this is where you can get like building materials and construction for making bases, pebblet foundations, clover roofs, chairs and stuff like that, and you will want to get 1 or 2 of those just to have them. But the main reason you're going to be using the ranger stations, at least in early access, is this Omni-Tool here. So once you get the Omni-Tool, your item for harvesting materials, you will be able to go here and upgrade it into the different types. Axes work on things that receive axes, like blades of grass that function as trees in this game. Hammer for breaking things apart, shovel for digging things up, and wrench for repairing things or doing mechanical functions. So in order to get these, you need to get the resources listed down here at the bottom, come to a ranger station terminal, and actually upgrade your piece. So you'll start with an Omni axe, useful for getting grass and stuff, but then you'll also want to get hammer, wrench, and shovel, and then as you progress through the game, you may find that you walk up to a material that can be harvested, and then you have level 1 hammer, but it says that you require level 2 hammer or tier 2 hammer, which you'll see here on next to the name in general. So you see this little icon right here, it has the Roman numeral 2, Roman numeral 1, 3, 4, 5. Those are the tiers of it, and the tier of your Omni-Tool has to match the resource you're trying to harvest, otherwise it will fail. Next, let's talk about your survival. It's actually pretty streamlined in Grounded 2. I mean, it's not gonna be compared to some of the really hardcore survival games where you have all these different things to manage. In general, you have your stamina bar in green down here at the bottom. Then you have your health down here at the bottom as well. So red is health, green is stamina. And then you just have hunger and thirst, and that's it. So you just need to be drinking enough water and hydrating yourself, or you need to be eating enough food to be able to keep yourself going. If you run out of water, you can die instantly from dehydration. If you run out of food, your stamina gets limited and it can be very dangerous for you as well. So you have to find things to eat, water to drink, keep your stamina up, and then keep your health up as well. I'm not going to tell you all the different ways you can solve this problem, but I will give you a starter tip if you're just starting out, that the best thing you can do for water is just look for water droplets out on the grass. So basically dewdrops will form on the grass above you. So if you just walk around, like if you're running out of water and you need some water really quick in a pinch, you haven't prepared anything, or you haven't progressed far enough to have items that would hold water for you, you just need to wander around until you see a drop of water. And voila, we have found one. So there you go. They're very noticeable. They have high specularity and reflection. They're very easy to spot. So you'll see them dangling there. So you have 2 options. You can either like try to climb up to it, and if you get close enough, you'll get the slurp icon to drink it and actually get that dew drunk. Or if you need to and you're really out of reach, you can actually just walk over to the blade of grass over here. And if you give it a good whack, the droplet itself will fall off the grass, and then you can run over and grab it to keep yourself hydrated. Now, if you fight non-combatants that you'll find out in the world, like weevils and stuff, or grubs, or even these aphids right here, you'll be able to actually eat these raw if you absolutely need to, or you can kill them off, grab them, and grill them if you were to find a structure very early on that would allow for grilling. You can even do other things with that meat either, but these count as meat, and you can see on the item itself, it has this little clock wipe on it that shows that it does expire. So this will actually expire, the raw meat will, and go bad. So either you can eat it by cooking it and have it, or turn it into some other form of food. That's gonna be your primary. But my little hot tip for you is to grab these mushrooms here. You'll find them growing near the larger mushrooms, little small mushrooms here. These are entirely consumable, and they give you a little bit of food each, and they're everywhere. So usually when you're first starting out, you're just gonna be taking water droplets off of grass blades and then grabbing these little mushrooms and then just spamming them until you get full on food, and that way you're stored up. Later on, you'll have buffs, different food types, and things like that. But for now, this is all you really need to keep yourself sated. Now let's go over combat. It is a pretty straightforward kind of Rochambeau combat system: block, attack, and parry. And you also have dodging as well. But it is improved from the first game, and I think one of the best parts of Grounded 2 so far is just the basic combat. Now, what's cool about this, and we'll get into this in a second, is there are builds that you can make. There's set bonuses on the armor and items. There's accessories that you can add. There's perks, passives, and other benefits that you can, like talents that you can add to your character. And there's different play styles as well. You can play as a tank that draws aggro. You can play as a mage or a wizard that does long range attacks. You can play as a ranger, and you can also play as like a venom type assassin that focuses on critical strikes. You can use spears, hammers for stunning, two-handed swords for critical strikes and stuff like that. So there is enough build variety to go along with. When it comes to melee, you have your basic attack. A lot of the weapons will have hit chains, which means that they follow a sequence. You'll notice that the spear I have here has a 3-hit chain. Monster Hunter fans will recognize that quite well. So you do 1, 2, 3, hit chain resets, 1, 2, 3. And there are set bonuses that rely on that as well, giving you more damage on your third hit, yada yada. You can also do charged attacks, so you will find enemies that do guards and blocks. Charge attacks allow you to pierce through those. So if you, instead of attacking, you hold down the button, you'll notice that I have this kind of like effect that goes, and generally there is a perfect release window, even for ranged weapons, so that if you release right as that pierce goes off, you'll be able to get some really cool effects and bonus damage from it as well if you're doing that properly. But if the enemy is blocking and guarding, then you will be able to pierce through it using a charged attack. So I've got a larva here. I kind of want to just show you how this works here. So we'll be able to block. You'll notice with my block, if I block his attack, the block itself is blue. So when the ripple effect comes out of the enemy, you'll see a blue ripple from it. See if I can show you there. It's kind of hard to see with the larva, but it'll be blue for a block or a successful block. All blocks have chip damage, which means that if you block something, it will take your stamina for taking the block, but it will also take a little bit of your HP for having blocked it as well. However, there is a perfect block, which is pressing the block button right when the target hits you. So if I wait for this and I wait, I do a little bit early and he goes underground again because he's scared. But when he attacks, if I hit the right block, so boom, that's a parry. So you'll see instead of it being blue, it was actually yellow. Yellow means that it's a perfect parry. And then once that perfect parry goes out, it will add a bunch of stun damage to the target. And then it will also, in some cases, deal damage back to them as well. So it's another perfect parry. So for melee, your goal is to block when you need to, deal damage when you need to, and if you can, try to perfect parry, especially against the larger enemies that may have venom or status effects or freezes and stuff that may get in your way. So just make sure you kind of practice that if you're going for the melee. So there's a perfect parry, able to block him, knock him back, build up his stun meter, and if you deal enough stun to a target, they will get stunned and get knocked down on the ground, which looks like this. You'll see their head kind of twirling like that. If you get enough parries in a row or you build up their stun meter, you'll be able to stun them. And this is very useful for large enemies because you'll be able to knock them down and deal damage. This works in groups. Your teammates can wail on them, or you can deal damage directly to their weak point with melee. In a lot of cases, if they're stunned, you'll deal crits automatically as well. So as long as you land that parry and then build up stun, or you use weapons that have high stun like warhammers, you'll be able to punish the enemy pretty easily. Your other option is to use dash on PC. This is left control. This is a new feature for Grounded. I believe didn't have it in the first game. But if you press dash, it'll use stamina. You can actually move and dash to the side. This has limited iframes. It's not like, you could just perfectly roll through things, but it does have some defensive properties to it, but it also has the ability to do dash attacks as well. So if you're able to dash properly and then use a dash attack, it works great with daggers specifically, but you have a little bit of motion, you have blocking, you have parrying and guarding, and then you can punish targets with that as well. Here's a good chance to show you the difference between block and parry, because it's very obvious when you're fighting an enemy that guards. So I have a perk that does that. So he's gonna chill out, but then some enemies will block actually. So you'll see I can parry that. But if I attack him enough times, he'll block. You notice the blue color to the hit? So the blue color to the hit tells you it's a block. The yellow color tells you it's not. So blue, blue, blue. He can attack me and then I can parry it and it'll turn yellow. Blue, blue, blue. Notice when he goes into that guarding stance, I can bring up my charge and then I can attack right through it. So I can go straight through his guard and kill him that way if I'm using it, and it goes blue when it's a block, which does have chip damage to it as well and will eat your stamina. Keep in mind that if your stamina runs out, so on the bottom left, I can burn my stamina. If you have no stamina left and you try to block, you will get stunned and lower your weapon. So there's a huge punish to running out of stamina in general. And by the way, for that reason, I would go into the options. This is my recommendation. I know, especially when it comes to sprinting modes and ADS modes and shooters, people always have a preference for whether they want to hold it, whether they want to press it to toggle it, or whether they want to press it to turn it on and let go of it. There's different options here. However, in this game, because there's such a long recovery to how before, like the amount of time it takes before your stamina starts recovering is like 2 or 3 seconds. It's pretty long. I actually recommend doing hold to sprint. Just because of that long punishment, right? So you'll notice that like if I run and burn stamina and I stop and then I move again, I stop and I move again, and I stop and I move again, my stamina is not recovering at all. But if you run with hold to sprint, it'll just pause and then shoot up on its own. It makes it a little easier. Obviously go for whatever preference is, but just keep in mind that that is there. Next, if you go to your inventory again, and then toggle over to this tab called Mutations in the top right, this will show you all of your perks and bonuses. This is a very important page, and these are kind of like old school RPG leveling up. All you have to do is use or do the thing that it tells you to do. You'll unlock higher and higher tiers of that perk, and then that perk will be equipable for bonuses. So if you want to use daggers, you level the assassin perk, kill creatures with daggers, kill creatures with bows, swords, magic staves, clubs, fists, spears, and then all kinds of other things as well. You notice there's all these different categories that you can level up by doing them, which will give you different perks. However, the one thing I'll remind you on is make sure you have them equipped, because you can actually unlock them, but not actually have them equipped at all. I spent a good bit of time not having them on. So just make sure, while this guy just refuses to leave me alone, you'll be able to unlock those and use them and make your build that way. And you'll also find, like I mentioned earlier, you'll find set bonuses and other things that you can stack up with your build based on your choice of armor, right? So I'm not going to show you exactly what item this belongs to or what the list of recipes that I have, but just keep in mind that you'll have things like fighter, rogue, ranger, mage, things popping up like that, and you can stack them multiple times to get more bonus from them. Fighter allows you to hold aggro if you want to tank for you, your companions, or your teammates, if you have other players in the game, or if you want to build up some kind of crazy build that uses a certain set. Look at the armor and item pieces for making more of your build. And you'll also find trinkets that you can craft as well, permanent buffs that you can equip to your character, and they all have other bonuses as well, depending on your playstyle. The next progression system you need to know about is the Molars in the game. These are collectibles that you'll find riddled throughout the world, and they give you a one-time bonus to upgrade your character. So once you find them out in the world, they look like this. You'll just need to have your hammer upgraded to at least tier 1. Then you can smash the tooth, and inside will be this collectible that you'll collect, which will give you a point. There are 2 types of molars, the white molars and the golden molars. They are spent on different things, but you go up, you grab it, you get your milk molar point. Go into your inventory, and then in the top right corner, you'll see this little tooth icon. Click on that, and these will you get your permanent upgrade. So by doing this one, you can get max HP, max stamina, reduced drain on hunger and thirst, your consumables heal you more, or you get additional perks and passives that you can have on your character to make your character stronger. All are very useful. And then the mega molars are really strong, like global things that apply to every character, just because they deal with stack sizes and things like that. Okay, so I think that gets you everything that you need to get started, a heading to go in, a direction to go through, and you understand how all the mechanics work and how to put together a build and function that way. Now let's transition into the second stage, where I give you a little bit more hands-on that is gonna maybe spoil some of the discovery, but is gonna get you over some hurdles that I think are very fundamental to the game. The first one is a brand new feature for Grounded 2, and that is your buggy. You now have the ability to summon and utilize a companion as part of that by getting a red soldier ant as part of your party. There's a bunch of features that come along with this. He does help you quite a bit in the early stages of fighting. He can be a little bit challenging to use on the harder boss fights just because he has a health pool, but it is very useful and a big part of the game. So what can you do with the buggy, and where do you get him? The first thing is that you will need to follow your main story quest to the first anthill. It's one of the first few quests you get in the game. It's very early on. It will walk you through the whole process, including dialogue and lore behind it as to why you have this ant as part of it. So follow those until you get to the anthill, which is going to be this like first part of the game. the hatchery anthill north, you'll kind of deal with that. You can go to some of these other outhills, the snack bar anthill as well, and you'll figure out how to do it. The next thing you need to do is go inside the anthill when the quest asks you to and retrieve a red soldier ant egg. This is a yellow version of the egg. If you look at the normal ant eggs, they are all white and translucent, but the soldier ones are yellow/orange or copper colored. Grab that and you have to carry it back to base. It is a haul, kind of like Monster Hunter style, where you have to hold it in your hand, and if you don't have a buggy that you can use, you're going to have to take it back to your base and craft a hatchery. So come back to your base, pick up the ant egg, and then you're going to walk it over to the hatchery once you've made it, and you want to put the ant egg on top of it. Once you do it, it'll cost some materials for the saddle, and then it'll cost the egg. You incubate it, and it runs for a good, I don't know, like 20-30 minutes in real life time, and then you'll have your red soldier ant buggy ready to go. And then once the soldier buggy is up, he will always have an icon if he's alive, and then you can use him for a bunch of different things. Firstly, just, you know, like most RPG games, there's a hotkey for it. So see in the bottom right corner of the screen, all the way down at the bottom, you'll see this button that says T. T is in torch, and you'll be able to summon him everywhere you go. If he's not nearby, he'll spawn right behind you or right next to you. If he is nearby, he'll just walk towards you if he can, and you can even move him that way. What's cool about him as well is you can ride him. So walk up, get on top of him. He does have his own inventory, which is really cool as well. And anything you pick up while riding your buggy will allow you to go into his inventory instead of yours. So you can see that he has his own inventory here. You can put things into it, you can take things out of it, and then when you're riding him, anything you loot will go into his inventory. This got super confusing for me. Just we wonder where all the stuff went that you looted while you're riding on your ant. Make sure you just go to his inventory and grab it out of his inventory, put it in yours. If there's a bunch of stuff on the ground that you don't want to try and pick up, he does have a gather mode, which is really cool. So hold E as in echidna, and then hold this down, and he'll start doing the wooby wax on, wax off in front of you. All you have to do is walk through any collectible item into this like little woosaw that he's doing. So if I walk over here and I go near the grass, he grabs it, he'll grab it, grabs the pebble, grabs that. You can even cause it to like do some crazy stuff as well. But if you just broke something and there's a whole bunch of items on the ground, you can just activate gather mode and have him gather it, which is really nice, and you break it by pressing E again. Then you have a recruit mode, which you activate and he'll scream and send out pheromones from his mouth, which soldier ants give pheromones, I guess. And then you'll be able to recruit worker ants that are nearby, and they'll join your party. They're kind of like cannon fodder. They'll just fight with you or for you. You get a couple of these going, and it might help you with some of the bigger fights if you want to, but you have that bonus for it. He can hold limited things in his mouth, so if you go to like a plank or something, you can hit carry to hold it, and he'll carry it with him. Again, if you also have like a soldier egg or something, you can actually, there's a spot next to him that he'll be able to put it on that will like hold it up next to him, so you can just have it, like the handlebars there. So you can grab that and give it to him, which gives him that kind of extra piece. And what's even cooler about that is that he has the ability to sprint. So bottom middle of the screen, you see the HP bar in red and then the sprint bar in green. And when sprinting, he has no collision with any grass blades. So you can actually just zoom straight through, and it's actually very fast, very reliable. You can just zoom. Some things will have collision that are like not grass blades, but pretty much the grass blades that are in front of you, you can just freely run through them and just zoom around, and it makes this massive map feel a lot smaller. Next, what I do is set up just any kind of base. The more central you can make it, the better, but it really doesn't matter too much with how fast you can move around with your buggy. And also, once you get zip lines going and bouncy pads, you can kind of clear the distance decently well. But what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna want a ground base that you can use for storage. You're gonna end up storing a whole bunch of stuff that you'll wanna use for later on, and it also allows you to get your collectors up and running. The first thing I would do right away is I would put up some dew collectors. You'll find the recipe as you progress through the game and get these unlocked. Then all you have to do is just put these up, and then periodically over time, they will start generating dewdrops. You can store the dewdrops in a water container if you want, or you can just drink them and store them. If you make a canteen, you can scoop them into the canteen as well, which allows you to store more in your inventory as you're going. And it just allows you to kind of come along and drink water if you need it, which is super useful. Next, what I do is set up sap collectors. This is another generator that just generates things as it goes along, and they have to be attached to any exposed bark. So a tree branch, a tree root, anything like this that's exposed like that, you can attach the sap collectors to it, and then over time it'll periodically generate sap. Sap is very useful for a lot of things, primarily healing items. You use them in a lot of healing items like bandages. So you want to be able to set these up, and then you can just come, every time you come back to your base, just walk over to your sap collectors. You can see I just got 24 sap, 28 sap just by walking by and grabbing these. So you get a good amount of items that you can just gather from that, and you get water and sap just generating on its own constantly. Next, when it comes to weaponry, you can choose whatever build you want. They all seem to be relatively viable. The fighter setup is a lot more useful when you're running with companions. Like you got a bunch of ants in your buggy and fight that way and pull aggro, or you can fight in a group. They also have rogue, assassin, ranged, melee, fast melee, slow melee, dual wield. There's claws and daggers, and there's also magic that you can get, though the magic is a little bit later in the game, like more mid-game, because you need to be able to collect the things that generate the magic. But you can do staves and mage armor and stuff like that. However, my recommendation for you is that I would recommend just trying to stick around tier 1, tier 2, mainly because items in this game break pretty regularly and you will need to repair them. So sometimes when people play games like this and they end up like really trying to like upgrade to the highest tier they possibly can, then they find out that they can't repair it because they didn't get it. It's hard for them to get the materials that repair the item. So kind of, you know, upgrade along the way, but don't be afraid to be, you know, 1 or tier lower than what you've discovered, because you will have to repair that item quite a bit, and it does take some of the parts that you use to make the item to repair it, which can be a bit of a drag. But obviously the higher up you go, there are some really cool weapons that you can unlock and use for some really fun builds. Another quick tip is that if you're wondering what progression path to go through, I would recommend getting the 2nd tier upgrade for the axe first, as the axe is what you need. Like you need tier 2 axe, or tier 2 axe, in order to farm the materials that unlock the other tiers. And so what I would do is I would pick up your Omni-Tool right away, then I would get tier 1 of all of the other options. So get tier 1 hammer, get tier 1 wrench, get tier 1 shovel, and then get tier 2 axe, and it will be much easier to then get tier 2 hammer, tier 2 shovel, tier 2 wrench, and then you can start progressing that way, though not all the tiers are in the game yet. And that's where I'll leave the guide now. Hopefully that was a good spread of information for you getting started in Grounded 2, and I hope you enjoy. If you have any tips for beginners, people starting out in the game, drop those down in the comments down below, and if you find a comment that was helpful for you, give it a like to let that person know that you helped them out. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.